Hi, everyone. Welcome again. He's back. Dr. Clapper, good to have you again.
Oh, I love it.
Orthopedic surgeon at Cedars-Sinai and longtime radio host on ESPN 710, The Weekend Warrior. We're talking sports injuries. The guy behind us, Shohei Ohtani, had a spectacular MVP kind of season. But in the World Series, I'm going to give you credit because we did a little segment with you. You called it. When he hurt that shoulder, you said, if he didn't dislocate it, he can play. He played. You said, it's not going to be the same Shohei. He went 1 for 11 in the remaining 3 games. Now it comes out, he's got to have surgery.
Yes.
When you hear that, to repair the labrum, was it always torn? What are you hearing there?
Well, in order for the ball, which is your shoulder joint, we have one here.
Yeah.
In order for the ball to move beyond the socket, completely move versus partially move. So you brought a golf ball and a tee.
I did.
So here we go. Put the golf ball, and now, Kurt, go ahead and move the golf ball halfway off the tee, just halfway. That is a subluxation.
And that's what they said he had.
Correct.
Right? Subluxation.
Now take the golf ball and go completely off. And guess what happens? I'm not supporting you. Bada bing. It falls down. That's a complete dislocation. Okay? Luxation versus subluxation. Subluxation is the halfway business. But the reality is in order to go from sitting true, even partially, something has to give.
So if maybe your shoulder can help me as well as the T, but when they say now we're going to repair the labrum,
right?
What does that mean?
So here's the labrum. What actually, Clapper vision, is the labrum? The labrum is a way of our body to deepen the shallow socket. So here's the golf ball, your shoulder.
Gotcha.
There's the socket. This is the equivalent, okay? How do we deepen the socket? Well, a rubber O-ring or gasket wraps around the top that in essence makes it a deeper socket so it doesn't fall off. Why do we want such a shallow socket? Because of all the joints in your body, nothing else has 180 degrees. Your hip can't do that, but your shoulder can because the socket is so shallow. But that puts you at risk for injury to the rubber gasket that wraps around the top, which is the labrum. So when we all watched this wonderful, once-in-a-lifetime athlete, the Babe Ruth of our lifetime, Shohei Ohtani, slide, and you saw that movement in his shoulder, it was doing something abnormal. It was having the ball go further than the socket. Partially, fully, it was abnormal. And you saw, Kurt, you talked about it on TV, how he now had to hold his shoulder, hold his elbow, because he now feels it moving.
Because it was off the tee.
Correct.
So my question is how many years you've been a surgeon?
40.
Okay, 40. 40. Have I done anything for 40 years? Put my shoes on for 40 years. Okay, so for 40 years, countless, I'm assuming, labrum surgeries.
Thousands.
Thousands of labrum surgeries.
Thousands.
Shohei's an outlier athletically.
Right.
Everyone's different, I'm assuming. On average, what would you expect his healing process to be?
That's the beauty of the Warrior, the Shohei Ohtanis, and the Weekend Warrior, which are the listeners.
Yeah.
And I'm going to consider you a warrior, but the rest of us are weekend warriors. But the anatomy is the same, which is why it's so fun and relevant to talk about the Warriors athlete, the Dodger athlete. You play baseball also. Yep. So it's no different in terms of the healing and the bounce back. But what is fantastically different is our technology. When I started out doing shoulder surgery 40 years ago, when you tore your labrum and you ripped the structure that allowed the ball come off the socket, guess what the surgery was? A big cut through the front, and I had to intentionally damage perfectly good muscles and tendons just to get deep inside to the problem.
Wow.
Now, you know those beautiful pictures of someone trying to put together a pirate ship inside a Coke bottle?
Yeah.
Well, can you imagine trying to work deep inside the shoulder through a puncture wound? How can we get to the labrum and fix it? So I brought some toys from the operating room.
Oh, this is awesome. I didn't know this.
This is the telescope. It's thinner than the pen in your pocket. Hold it.
My goodness.
And the camera, just like we have cameras here at ABC, mount on the back. The light source goes here. And notice the elegance, the 30-degree angle. Not true,
Flat,
but 30, because then I can rotate and actually look around inside the joints. And so I get to look around 360 because of that beveled edge of the camera. So now I'm inside Kurt Sandoval or Shohei Ohtani or a weekend warrior, same anatomy. And what am I looking for? This. So this is the shoulder, this is the socket. Look at the red rubber that I have.
Yeah, hold that to the camera. There you go.
Look at the red rubber, that's the labrum that's inside the shoulder. And imagine the ball, I took the ball away. What Ohtani did was separate, and I'm pulling it now. Actually, I'd like you to do it. Separate the labrum
to
from
take it off.
The bone. Well, not complete, but enough. But you see what you've done here?
Oh, yeah. Significant, right? Yeah.
And when it's in place, you see it's an O-ring.
Yeah, and when it's in
around.
place, it's comfortable.
Correct. Right? I can fix it.
This is why I went into sports and you went into surgery.
Right. So it's wrapping around perfectly, and it actually has a groove here. But so what Ohtani did was he did this. He did this. He separated. See the gap?
That's fabulous.
You see the gap? That's a labral tear. And so 40 years ago, I had to go through all those structures to get it. The surgery was longer, the damage to the good tissues was worse, and the rehabilitation, this is the difference between Sandy Koufax versus Tommy John. The technology continues to improve. So what do we do now? Puncture wound, stick the arthroscope in with a camera, and I'm looking inside the ball and socket joint. Now I see the rip in the labrum. And now I will use a drill, which I have in my bag, and drill these little holes in the bone. Can you see those little holes in the bone?
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And then, I brought this for you, Kurt, because I want you to do it. I want you to take your thumb and put it in this recess and look at the end and see how you can move that suture through the needle. Go ahead and do that.
And I want to tell my audience right now, our audience, that's incredible. I can't tie a fly for my fishing pole, but look at that.
You can do that.
I can do that.
And notice, don't hurt yourself, but touch the tip, the metal tip.
Oh, yeah.
Not that. That's the suture. Touch the metal tip. Don't hurt you. Sharp.
Sharp. It's as
Why
sharp
is
as
it
a pin.
sharp? Because we need this sharpness to go through the hole that I drilled and then go through the rubber labrum. I pop through the labrum. I'm going to do it right now. And now watch this, Kurt, and watch everybody in the audience. You see the suture coming through?
Yeah.
Now I want you, Kurt, to push the suture through the labrum.
So like that.
Right. So now I have another tool that allows me to grab that black suture material because I punctured. And guess what?
And then you're going to tie
And
it
now I have a suture around it.
to hold
Through the hole, I can now put, you see the tiny threads?
Yep.
Into the hole that I drilled and capture the suture. So the reason I'm bringing all the toys from the operating room for you to see is not to get too technical.
No, it's great.
But it's very important for you to realize that this is why he's able to come back and pitch. Non-dominant arm, I get the whole discussion. But they need to leave him alone because this needs to heal.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's one other clap revision I really want you to do for the audience. So I brought a tie for you to put on because this is another advance we've had recently.
Yeah.
Go ahead and put the tie around you, and it doesn't have to be fan. And do your thing.
Shout out to Dad. Thanks for teaching me how to tie a tie. Okay. You know, I can't do it unless it's correct, so.
Yeah, do it correct.
All right. And then bring it up and through.
Right. Now push it like you're doing a regular tie. And this is the reason I'm making you do this. Now go ahead, Kurt, and slip it.
Okay, so.
And advance it. You see how you're advancing it? The new tools, and these keep coming out every year or so from this amazing company that we all use, and a shout out to Arthrex, because that's the company, and I don't work for them or anything, but this is the tools that we use all over the world with these beautiful tools that allow us how am I going to tie a knot to tie up the suture?
Yeah.
And I'm working
in a
inside your,
yeah.
I'm putting together the pirate ship inside the body. How am I going to do that? Slip knot.
Really?
Just like with you advance the tie, that's the clapper vision, I'm able to actually use sutures that allow me to just push. We call it a push lock. That just push, and it locks just like the tie.
Wow. All right. Last thing. On a typical, you've done thousands of labrum. How long is that? To everything you just explained, from the time he's under until you're like, stitch him up, let's go.
The nurses always say, Dr. Clapper, you're so fast. I don't want to be fast. You want to be efficient.
Right.
My dad was a carpenter. Measure twice, cut once. And the same thing in surgery. The same thing for what you do in TV. The efficiency is really what it's about. So to answer your question, when I do a labral repair, it's 45 minutes to an hour.
That's incredible.
Used to be 2.5 hours.
To quote the Rams' Jared Verse, you made me better today. That's great.